Okay, let's get this out before we
Get
start.
your sheets together.
You good? All right, we're good? Ready, set, go.
The roots of American society, which seem to be centered on ideals such as freedom and equality, have been corrupted as the government discreetly garners greater and greater control over the people. Dystopian novels and movies, which have become increasingly prevalent in recent decades, such as The Hunger Games, The Giver, and 1984 by George Orwell, shed light upon the transition to government-focused power. While there are no fight-to-the-death competitions or emotion-breaking drugs in place, the government has already begun to impose upon our personal liberties, as can be observed in the NSA spying scandal. The National Security Administration abused Section 215 of the Patriot Act and collected hordes of data from the average citizen's phone records without permission. The government acting as a big brother from 1984 no longer seems like a fiction story, but a reality. In 2013, the United States Internal Revenue Service divulged that it had chosen political groups applying for tax-exempt status for intensive scrutiny based on their names or political themes. The IRS specifically targeting conservative organizations and mysteriously losing $67 million of tax money shed light upon the tendency for government organizations to abuse their powers. Power abuse gives way to the unethical controlling of the people, as revealed in The Hunger Games, in which the totalitarian government of the capital dictates the rest of the country. Because the capital holds most of Panem's wealth, the capital is able to control the people in all the neighboring districts. It is quite clear that Panem, as a centralized location of government power, symbolizes Washington, D.C. No matter the economic strength for the rest of the country, D.C. is still booming. Home values are soaring, good raises are common, and low unemployment is the norm. This geographic bright spot that outshines the rest of the country directly parallels Panem. While all the other districts are in poverty, or in this case the rest of America, Panem, aka DC, thrives. The government impinging upon our personal liberties, as presented in both the IRS and the NSA scandals, directly corresponds with ideals set forth in the novel The Giver. The Giver investigates the age-old debate of which is more important, freedom or security, individuality or the greater good, the volatile emotions characteristic of human beings or no emotions at all. The government in the novel makes the decision for the people and decides against freedom, individuality, and emotions in the name of the greater good. Yet in reality, it simply seeks to garner greater power to control the people. When the government imposes upon our personal rights, it takes away from the very foundations of our society. A future like the one presented in The Giver, with the government controlling all aspects of one's person, is a very real possibility if power abuse continues to happen. As our society progresses, it is vital that we keep our power in the hands of the people to prevent the government, as presented in dystopian novels, from encroaching upon our rights and unjustly dictating the people.
Yeah. Ready, go.
Okay, so are you saying that medieval-based, that Suzanne Collins' medieval-based Hunger Games is reflecting modern-day society?
Yes, it is. Panem symbolizes DC, in which Panem thrives and the people have lots of money and lots of festivities, and the rest of the districts are poor. And it's sort of like the U.S., where Washington, D.C. has low unemployment, good raises, good housing, but the rest of the country is still struggling.
So are you saying that Los Angeles and California, which could be has the sixth highest economy in the world,
I'm saying as a general population of the whole United States, Washington D.C. thrives, whereas the rest of the country is struggling.
So are you saying that LA doesn't thrive compared to?
I'm not saying LA doesn't thrive.
But you said that compared to the rest of the
I'm saying as a whole, the rest of the United States, counting in all the other states.
Okay. Alright, next up, whoever's over there.
At least you're across the room.
to many of the dystopian ideals used to control population in literature and in movies. The subject is the American society. Therefore, according to the topic, all other countries are ruled out and any theories pertaining to the possibility of societies of those countries are coming dangerously close to many of the dystopian ideals are invalid and unrelated. The American society is limited to the United States, and arguments for future dystopian Mexico or Canada are dismissed as well. The American society is not coming dangerously close to many of the dystopian ideals seen in movies and literature for the following reasons. The Constitution states that American citizens have these freedoms. These freedoms include speech, press, and petition. Americans have history recorded in digital devices as well as their minds. So burning history books will not erase history. American society has become more accepting and equal. Freedom, history preservation, and social progression are factors which prove that America is not becoming a dystopian society. The Constitution was created by the founding fathers of America to ensure that future American citizens would be guaranteed basic rights. These rights guaranteed by the Bill of Rights include freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, petition, right to bear arms, no search without a warrant, innocence unless proven guilty, and the right to a trial. Cornell University Law. According to dictionary.com, the definition of dystopia is an imaginary place or state in which the condition of life is extremely bad, as from deprivation, oppression, or terror. As revealed by these rights, the Constitution prevents a dystopian society. The people of America are not becoming deprived. In fact, over the past century, women have gained the right to vote and are not becoming deprived. And Procon.org states that 30 of 50 states are allowing same-sex marriage. America has gained an African-American president. Racial discrimination has greatly decreased, as seen in society today. Radical discrimination has greatly decreased, and Americans are far more free than they have ever been. And according to Google Trends, over the past 10 years in the U.S., individualism has been trending more than collectivism by a factor of 3. That's 10 to 30. This implies that American society is becoming more individualistic and not concerned with conformity and following all society's strict ideals and stereotypes. Americans are the farthest they have ever been from becoming part of a dystopian society. With technology advancing and the availability of education in the United States, people are able to store history in their minds and their technological devices, rather than only in books. In the dystopian novel Fahrenheit 451, by Ray Bradbury, books are illegal and history is destroyed because characters are becoming absorbed in TV, limit quality social interaction, and therefore forget their past. The National Center for Education Statistics states that between 1980 and 2011, there has been a 17% increase in the amount of schools. This proves that availability of education has increased and intelligence has increased, and because more colleges are being created for higher education, this means that America is becoming more important. Thank you.
All right, we're ready for Louis Cross.
So I'm wondering, what good does the Constitution or other documents like the Bill of Rights guaranteeing our liberty do when the government is already encroaching upon our personal rights, such as the NSA scandal that I talked about?
Well, in America, we are guaranteed our rights through the Constitution, and courts such as the Supreme Court are able to enforce those constitutional rights.
Right, but if the government is imposing upon our rights, what good does the Constitution do?
Well, without the Constitution, it's not an American society, because the American society guarantees freedom. That is what it was built upon.
No.
Oh, okay. No, what I'm trying to say is that although the Constitution does say we have the freedom of liberty or whatnot, the government is encroaching upon those rights, and we can't do anything about it.
All right, 2-minute regroup, go.
But it's a 2.
Ready, everyone, to grades? And go.
My opponent here first talked about not only just the technology, but also our history. Now, first to tackle technology. Technology, for one, makes us more dependent And also, it also makes people lazier and ignorant. Now, not to say that that won't control society, but it can lead up. And as we depend more and rely more on our technology, which we can subconsciously, like through advertising and whatnot, we can become almost more accustomed to government control. Also, you mentioned history, and you rely on the Bill of Rights, Constitution, as well as everything that we did to support our government. Yet, you didn't tackle any of the issues that we are concerned with now. Environmental issues, which are prominent in today's society, have shown our reliance and our abuse of natural resources. Now more than ever, we are burning through our natural resources. Thus, we are going to have to rely on more synthetic materials and progress on more government and manufacturing. Now, with this being said, it's irrelevant to say that alright, so with the environmental issues, what I was getting at, is as presented in the pop culture movie Soylent Green, people enforce with food factories have control of the people in Soylent Green, and thus people don't know what's actually in the food. And through this, the government has total control, as represented through the factory owners. People are actually eating humans in the story. However, they don't know it. They believe it's a combination between soy and lentils. And it's not to say that we are going to become so dangerously close that we will become inevitably cannibalistic, but we are getting so close that if we keep on burning the resources which we have, we will end up relying on the government more, leading to their corruption and control. Thank you.
All right, ready for cross?
Yeah.
No.
Did you observe the benefits of the NSA? I don't know who's answering.
Oh, I'll answer. Well, sure there are benefits of NSA, but most of NSA is also unknown. So to say that there are some benefits, but now that information has been leaked about how much control they have and how much information they have of us, it counters it.
Do you believe that America should get rid of the NSA?
Not necessarily, because some aspects actually benefit society, but they should restrict themselves at a point in which they enforce and impose on people's lives.
Have you considered the constitutional rights like the First Amendment and the freedom it gives us?
I have, yeah. But in your argument, it would make no sense.
All right. Next rebuttal.
My opposition brought up the NSA spying incident. First, I'd like to ask, how many of us have ever gotten a missed call from a misdialed phone number? I know I have. Also, the NSA, the same human ran agency, listens mistakenly to 0.00009% of U.S. phone calls, less than 1/9 millionth of America's unfathomable number of phone calls per year. From these statistics, it seems obvious that the NSA's goal is not to control the American population. In fact, according to the NSA, its main goals are exploiting foreign use of electronic signals and systems and securing information systems used by the U.S. and its allies, while protecting privacy and civil liberties. Not only are these their goals, but also lawfulness, honesty, and integrity are on the top of their list of core values. The NSA is not trying to control our society, but instead protect us from foreign countries. The opposition also brought up class inequality. Like they said, the Hunger Games society is broken up into 12 districts, 1 being the richest and 12 being the poorest. Though America does struggle with a large wage gap, that does not mean we're getting closer to population control. If anything, it's quite the opposite, and we are out of the control of the government. Thanks to the First Amendment, we are allowed to have protests like Occupy Wall Street. This movement let the 99% voice their opinion on economic inequality in America. Instead of having the government tell us what to do, as Americans, we do not let our voice be silent. In opposition to the Hunger Games, we band together to go against the 1% and the social injustice taking place.
The definition of dystopia is a society characterized by human misery, oppression, disease, and overcrowding. With this definition in mind, look at America. The denotation could not contrast our country's society more. America was built on democracy, a type of government where its citizens are meant, even encouraged, to participate equally, direct or indirectly. In fact, democracy in Greek translates to rule of the people. This type of government was made for people so no citizen could overpower another, and everyone had as equal of a say in their rights as the person next to them. America's government utterly contrasts that of oppression seen in dystopian literature and movies. Oppression is the exercise of authority in an unjust and burdensome manner, where its citizens are condemned by troubles and adverse conditions. This type of government has no place in our country. And if our government ever came down to it, America would no longer be considered America because it would be breaking our rights that our country was built on.
All right, last cross, is that right? Oh, 1 minute? Yeah? Sure.
Okay. So you said the government only listens to a very small portion of our phone calls, correct?
Correct.
But what are the implications of the government listening to any phone calls at all? Like you said, even if they only listen to a small part, they're violating the Bill of Rights and the very foundations of our society, and that gives way to more power and more control, don't you think?
Well, I'd like to note the 9/11 incident. Many of the people that were involved in 9/11 were on their radar. In fact, they were so close to piecing them together, but they were missing the final pieces they needed to connect the dots, and through the NSA, they realized that they could have formed a huge line and realized all the people that were connected and could have prevented this event.
So there was one positive benefit, but I mean, isn't it safe to say that if the government feels as if it's okay to impose upon our personal rights occasionally or just a little bit, that means it's okay?
All right, we've got 2 minutes regrouping. Okay, start a little early, we can get a minute or two ahead. Last speakers. Go ahead.
Why has there been such a recent appetite for dystopian stories in the last few years? A possible answer is that these imaginary worlds reflect our own. Today's dystopian stories manipulate the very real and possible fears present in reality. From the NSA spying scandal that Zog talked about before, to the recent HIPAA security, it seems today America has adopted an Orwellian theme. The government has gained more control of the population's personal information, claiming that this breach in privacy is for the better of the nation and protection from outside dangers such as terrorism or the 9/11 attack we were talking about. But like 1984, this false sense of security strikes fear and paranoia in the public, causing easy manipulation and a state of ignorance of the real problem at hand, essentially the process of totalitarianism and definition of a dystopian society. Although there are no current procedures that make individuals incapable to feel, think, or act for themselves, modern pop culture, dystopian novels and movies may show their possible available place in America. Some ideas presented, such as those in A Clockwork Orange, where violent criminals are forced to undergo a process where they are mentally and physically unable to harm another human being, they seem utopian. However, the total control that the government has on each person diminishes the concept of individualism. As America leads up to this future, this strict structure of population diminishes the name Land of the Free and the original image of our independent nation. A future like the one presented in modern media, with the government controlling all aspects of one's person, is a very real possibility if power abuse continues to happen. Once people lose their ability to make a choice, they lose the very thing that makes them human. Would we really let such a thing happen in the real world? With the government gaining this much control, there's no way to stop this eventual dystopian society.
Once again, I'd like to repeat the topic of this debate. American society is coming dangerously close to many of the dystopian ideals used to control a population in literature and movies. There are a couple keywords here: American society and dystopia. Now, I think most of the people in this room would agree that a dystopian society is one that dehumanizes its citizens. The United States of America was founded on the ideas of liberty and democracy. Its citizens are guaranteed personal freedom and have the right to elect their own government officials to represent them. So the idea that American society could ever become a dystopia is laughable. If the American people's rights were not being protected because they were being dehumanized, then it would no longer truly be the great country our founding fathers believed in. Freedom of speech, religion, assembly, press, petition, and the right to bear arms. These constitutional rights that are sacred for every citizen of the United States were established so the American government could never dehumanize its citizens. America is far from a dystopia. In actuality, there are many characteristics of today's American society that show how it has progressed. The country has become more accepting, allowing same-sex marriages in multiple states. There have also been increases in interracial marriages. According to the New York Daily News, there are over 4.8 million interracial marriages in the U.S. Women have the ability to vote. Racism is down, and today, civil rights are more protected than ever. On top of all that, we have an African-American president. 50 years ago, many Americans would be disgusted if they heard those things were true. American society has not only progressed, it is better off than it was in past years. Healthcare has now become more affordable and available to those with no coverage. According to AARP.org, President Obama's Affordable Care Act greatly expands the healthcare benefits being offered to the 55 million Americans with no health coverage. Not only is healthcare more affordable and available to Americans, but there have also been huge advancements in medicine. In a CNN Health article, it is stated, over the last decade, we've made significant strides in medical research, disease treatment, and the improvement of patients' quality of life. And, according to a study by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, unemployment is decreasing. Since the beginning of the year, the unemployment rate and the number of unemployed persons have declined by 0.8 percentage points and 1.2 million, respectively. The idea that American society is beginning to resemble a dystopia, like the one seen in the Hunger Games or Divergent, is asinine. American society is now more accepting, tolerant, and better off than ever before.